Thank you, Gary, for your kind remarks. I couldn't find the word to describe how I feel about receiving this award, so I invented a new term, humble happy. I'm feeling humble happy right now. Recognition of this kind, seriously, from fellow professionals who I admire and respect is far beyond gratifying. I'd like to thank Bill Nielsen and the rest of the members of the Honors Committee, as well as the entire Board of Trustees, for making this possible. So tonight, I'm luckily positioned to be among the first to publicly congratulate Richard Edelman for his entry into the Society's Hall of Fame. He has built a fabulous platform on which to demonstrate industry leadership. The profession benefits whenever his agency pushes against the envelope of traditional expectations. And I must take a moment to thank my wife, Teresa, who proves that behind every introverted man of some accomplishment, there's an extroverted woman prying his fingers from the doorframe and shoving him out into the world. Believe me, my career has only been possible because of Teresa's support, encouragement, and shoving. Tonight, my remarks about service in the public relations profession will be based on the words and deeds of that paragon of wisdom, Spider-Man. I admit that as a youngster, my worldviews and sense of values were shaped more by Peter Parker and his costume alter ego than any real-life person. John F. Kennedy, Neil Armstrong, Martin Luther King were all very admirable, but could they shoot webbings from their wrists and swing from buildings? Could they walk on ceilings and crack jokes while doing battle with the Green Goblin? I think not. Maybe I was a little shallow in the selection of a role model. But in my defense, there was something different about Spider-Man that set him apart from his colorful peers. He was driven to act by a strong moral code. Even after he became a costume hero, Peter Parker was still a hapless science geek, bullied in school, unpopular, broke. When battling crime as Spider-Man, he fell behind on his homework. He lost the girl of his dreams. He got beat up a lot, and he made less money in his after-school job. Still, he ventured forth night after night to try to do the right thing because he believed that with great power comes great responsibility. And that notion has stuck with me and has been a motivating force throughout my career. Please allow me to elaborate, starting with thoughts about power. While we all have our bad days when we feel frustrated, hemmed in, or ground up, there's no denying that the people in this room stand at the pinnacle of a profession of enormous consequence. Public relations has more power today than anyone could have envisioned back when Arthur Page was creating our function at AT&T. This is due mostly to globalization and the adoption of digital media. Most adults and many youngsters on this planet now have access to information and a means to express themselves. The pool of people whose voice forms public opinion has increased by billions. Now almost everyone can engage in the larger world, young or old, rich or poor, informed or ignorant. You get to make your point whether it is welcomed or not. The ability for like-minded people to connect and organize can be measured in seconds. Reputations can be established or trashed with the swipe of a finger. Crowds or mobs can be mobilized. Boycotts can be called. Support can be rallied. Great sums of money can quickly flow to people, projects, or causes that gain public favor. In almost all countries, public opinion is strengthening as a force, that can make or destroy politicians, governments, stock markets, public policies, and social norms. In some ways, the growing pool of engaged human beings is comparable to a warming ocean that can produce hurricanes of ever greater force and destructiveness. This is our world. If anyone understands and can influence this great power, it is the communications executives in this room and our counterparts around the globe. Where others perceive chaos and serendipity, we can see the control switches and the links between cause and effect. Where others are flying blindly, we at least have some sense of how to maneuver, catch an updraft, and avoid a crash. The shift in power from the public sector to the private sector also contributes to our growing ability to affect things that really matter. Most of us work, directly or indirectly, for large corporations. Their wealth, expertise, and influence relative to the power of governments have grown tremendously in recent decades. If the corporations represented in this room pooled their resources and worked towards common objectives, they could largely solve many of the world's most pressing problems. Communications executives also have more power because today we have a seat at the table when important business and policy decisions are being made. More and more CEOs know that their ambitious plans must be embraced by their leadership team and at least understood by all employees. They realize that regulators and politicians are driven by popular opinion, which can be shaped, and we heard a great example of that this afternoon. They accept that corporate cultures only thrive when there is a steady flow of information throughout the organization. In short, they understand that communications is critical to their success, and they expect us to exert influence to achieve the right outcomes. Like Peter Parker, we have been transformed from the ineffective smart kid into the action hero who does things of great importance. Now let's consider the responsibilities that come with power. Of course, first we've got to do the work for which we are paid. We have programs to execute, people and resources that must be managed, executives that require our counsel, and stakeholders that need to be engaged. Okay, that's doing our job. What else? Members of the Page Society are leaders inside their organizations. We are highly visible. We don't just give orders, we shape the culture and energize people to achieve a common goal. We can model the behaviors that make the workplace more uplifting and humane. We can encourage open debate. We can demonstrate sensitivity towards ethical considerations. We can hire people with different backgrounds. We can stress the importance of looking beyond the current fiscal quarter and managing for the long term. We can fight for smart, timely communications when others advocate delay, obfuscation, and evasiveness. We can champion the importance of informing, trusting, and empowering employees in the belief that they are the true expression of a company's character. In short, we can live the Page principles. Acting responsibly easily translates into being of service to our profession. The most convenient path for most of us is to contribute to the vitality of this organization. The Page Society has made great progress. Our white papers, insight forums, webinars, programs, and conferences have pushed the concepts of trust and authenticity into the discussions of business and political leaders around the world. Still, there is much, much more to be done. Opportunities to pitch in are plentiful. Another form of service is coaching, mentoring, or offering a helping hand to the up-and-comers in our profession. A lot of people become head of the communications function without sufficient preparation or a sense of how different the role is from others they have had. After spending the first 15 or 20 years of our career perfecting professional and managerial skills that lead to steady advancement, it's a shock to learn that those capabilities won't ensure our success going forward. It's as if we've stepped through the looking glass. In the top job, project management, attention to detail, and technical knowledge aren't nearly as important as vision, leadership, political skills, persuasive ability, judgment, and business acumen. The need for these qualities becomes clear when suddenly you're dealing with the CEO, chairman, and board of directors. Suddenly you're going head-to-head with the chief legal counsel, the chief financial officer, and business unit heads. You become privy to long-term strategies, personal agendas, business risks, interpersonal dynamics of which you had no prior awareness. You are asked to do things that don't appear in any job description. Most of us have made it through this final transition, but only after making plenty of mistakes, learning from them, and working hard to address our deficiencies. Often, what helped the most was talking with more seasoned veterans willing to share their experiences with us. It makes all the difference in the world when you can pick up the phone and discuss a political dogfight, ethical conundrum, or demoralizing setback with a wise counselor like Al Golan, Al Gadaldic, or Dave Sine. It lifts your spirit and stiffens your spine when a Dave Sampson or a Doug Michelman or John Onoda offers assurances that you are on the right path when you think you're wading through quicksand. Now, many of us have reached the point in our career where we are the wise old hands who can offer needed encouragement, or talk about our mistakes and what we learned from them, or provide credible assurances that deflating setbacks are not necessarily career killers, that sometimes they're even blessings in disguise. We can serve by setting aside more time for coaching and mentoring. This is what I find most rewarding. Every once in a while, we come across a person with great potential. If we were baseball scouts, it would be criminal not to do something for the kid with the phenomenal fastball to see that they make it into the big leagues. If we were teachers, it would be criminal not to shepherd the young prodigy towards a future where her gifts are fully realized. We owe it to our profession to be scouts and teachers, to find great talent and do what we can to elevate it. I'll mention one other expression of responsibility, and that is using our influence within companies for the benefit of society. If we believe that power engenders responsibility, the notion applies not only to us, but to our employers. As communications professionals, we have the opportunity to present the views of all stakeholders and to make the case why their concerns deserve consideration. Global warming, water shortages, dying oceans, air pollution, economic disparities, human rights abuses in the supply chain, and other pressing problems have to be addressed through collaborative efforts involving governments, businesses, and NGOs. If the private sector doesn't step up and play a strong role today, these problems may be insurmountable tomorrow. I think we have a responsibility to speak up for the unrepresented. It takes courage and skill and the willingness to assume additional risk. Maybe there will be no thanks. Maybe we'll even pay a price. If you consider this final step outside your professional comfort zone, remember Peter Parker and why he keeps putting on that Spider-Man outfit. With great power comes great responsibility. Thank you.